Hello students, today's agenda is to check homework. You'll be finding the value of y and you will be able to do page 5. Students will be able to find y when given the value of x. And so we have here some examples. So now you have been graphing points which include x and y. And basically, this is called a linear equation. Linear equations help you graph lines. That's why they're called linear. And it's basically related to, for example, if you buy a certain amount of shirts, how much will be the cost? If you get in each box some candy, what's the total of candy you end up with 3 boxes or something like that. And we're not going to do much of the relation, but just finding how much is y when x has some value. Okay, so in here it says let x equal -2, 0, or 11. Okay, so they're giving us some values for x. So basically, if you recall from the previous lesson, we were graphing points. And so basically they're giving us the x, we have to find the y. So let me I'm just going to put the points in here. They're giving us x, so let's say that x is equals to -2, okay? For another point, so we're going to graph a second point, and in reality we're not graphing today. Today is just finding that other value. They also say that x is also 0, and x is also 11. So that means that they're giving us the information for 3 different points. Okay, now they gave us x, okay, in this form. We put it in the coordinate. Now we have to find the value of y. Okay, so nos dan x, nos están dando 3 valores de x. Ahora tenemos que encontrar el valor de y. Okay, so I'm going to use this equation, y equals 3x. But then I know I'm going to substitute the value of y, which is -3. We know that when we have 3 and x, that means multiplication. And so we have the y stays the same, bring down the 3, and instead of x, I'm going to substitute. Voy a sustituir el valor de esa variable. So we know that x is -2. Again, we bring down the y, and we multiply 3 times -2. Positive times negative is negative. 3 times 2 is 6. So that's the value of y. So that's what we're going to put in here. Okay? So if you remember, you can now actually graph that point, because you already know that it's -2 on x. So you go to the left 2 spaces, and then -6 on y, so you go down because it's negative. Okay, so you know how to do that if you want to. Okay, for the next one, again, we're gonna use the same equation, y equals 3x. The value of x is 0, so we bring down the y, we bring down the 3, and we substitute. Instead of x, we write 0. We substitute. So we bring down the y, and 3 times 0 is 0. So when x is 0, y is 0 as well. Okay, and it doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's going to change. In this case, it does, just because we don't have a constant number. Again, we use the same equation, and so we're going to substitute the value of x by 11. So we have the same y, we bring down the 3, and substitute. Instead of x, we put 11. And so y is equals to 3 times 11, that's going to be 33. So 1133. Now for this lesson, or for this assignment, you don't really have to graph, but I'm just going to show you this first one. remember that negative 2 is going to be negative 1, negative 2 to the left, and then negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. It's going to be around here. Sorry, it's not very perfect. Then the next one is 0, 0, which is right here, because remember 0, 0 is at the origin. And then 11, 33, I don't think I'm going to be able to graph that. So 1, 2, 3, you would go 11 spaces, and then 33, which is going to even go out of the paper. So your line, that's why it's called a linear equation, because it forms a line. Okay. Okay, let me give you another example. Sometimes we're not going to have the y by itself. Okay, so we're going to have to isolate the y. We have to leave it by itself. Tenemos que dejar la y solita. And basically it's moving this whole term to the other side. So if I'm adding 2x, the opposite is to subtract 2x. 2x minus 2x is 0, so basically that cancels. And you end up with y equals, this doesn't have a variable, this one does. So basically they are not like terms. So I'm just going to copy this first, negative 2x plus 8. Okay? And so that's the new equation that we're going to work with. Now, remember, now that we have this, what you needed to do was to cancel the x, okay? So it's to leave y by itself. Es para dejar o despejar la y. Now we can write the 3 values as a coordinate. So let me write it. So x is negative 3. For the next one, x is 1. And for the last one, x is 4. Okay? Now we're able to find, or we need to find y for each point. So now we're going to use this. Now in class, some students might ask, can we just substitute in the original? Yes, you can do that if you want. You can substitute negative 3 in here, multiply, and then cancel. Or you can cancel right now and use this equation instead. Y equals negative 2x plus 8. So we know that the value of x is 3, so we're going to take this away and put the 3 in its place. Remember, this means multiplication, so we're going to be multiplying in there. Let me put a paper in here so that you can write easier. So y is equals to negative 2, instead of x is times negative 3 plus 8. And so we bring down the y. Okay, all we did was to substitute in here. Now we're going to be using PEMDAS to evaluate this part. So negative times negative is positive. 2 times 3 is 6. And then plus 8. Bring down the y, and now, so we already multiplied, now we're going to add this. 6 plus 8, it's going to be 14. So that's the value of y. Okay? For the next one, we use the same equation, y equals negative 2x plus 8. We substitute the x with this value, and so it's going to be y equals negative 2 times, instead of writing x, it's going to be 1 plus 8. Now in PEMDAS, remember that multiplication comes before addition. Okay, so that's why negative times positive, negative, 2 times 1, 2, and add the 8. And finally, we just add them, which sometimes means subtract, right? If we have different signs, we subtract and leave the sign of the greater one. Okay, signos diferentes se restan y se deja el signo del mayor. So 8 minus 2 is 6, and the greater one is positive, so it's going to be positive. So y equals 6. That's the value of y. For the last one, we have x equals 4, so vamos a reemplazar x con 4. So y equals negative 2x plus 8. I was going to substitute already, sorry. So y equals negative 2. We substitute for, instead of the x, plus 8. And so y equals, now we multiply, ahora multiplicamos y después bajamos el 8. So negative times positive, negative. 2 times 4, 8, plus 8. And so y equals, debemos 8, pagamos 8, nos queda 0. So if we owe 8 plus 8, remember that different signs we subtract. 8 minus 8 is 0. So that's going to be my answer. Okay, and so we put 0 in here. Again, you don't have to graph, but if you have to, if you, like in the future, you will. Let me just, use this as an example because you're going to be graphing in the future anyways. And it's not perfect because I'm just doing it here. It's better if you use graphing paper. I wasn't planning on doing this, but negative 3, remember that these are always left if it's negative or right if it's positive, down if it's negative, up if it's positive, okay? This is negative x, positive y, negative y. So here we have negative 3. So 1, 2, 3. Don't place the dot. Positive 14. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Something like that. Okay, yours is going to be better because you're going to be using graphing paper in the future. 1, 6. So 1, it's positive, so to the right. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up. And then you have 4, 0. So 4 on x, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 0. Notice how you form a line. Hopefully it aligns because, again, this is not perfect. So with lots of imagination, they align. But again, with graphing paper, it's going to be better. Okay? Actually, that's what you're going to be doing in the next lesson. So you are ready, actually, to do one more. Okay, let's do one more example. And this is going to be involving a fraction. So that's why I wanted to try one, because I know that in the assignment you have one with a fraction. Okay, so again, we want to leave y by itself. Queremos dejar la y solita. Esta es multiplicación y esta se está sumando todo el término. So we want to get rid of the whole term. Queremos eliminar todo el término de x. So we're going to subtract 3x on both sides. Okay, minus 3x. This cancels. And you end up with 2y. Don't get rid of the 2 yet. Todavía no nos podemos eliminar ese 2. These are not like terms. This one has variable, this one doesn't. They're not like terms. So I'm just going to bring down the term with x, negative 3x, and bring down the 6. Since we doesn't have anything, we need to put the plus in there. Okay? Finally, and this is the tricky part, if it has a coefficient, beautiful vocabulary, right? If we have a coefficient, we're going to divide by that coefficient. Remember that we don't change the sign in division. But in here, that cancels. And what we need to do is actually divide. We learned this in module G. We divide each term by the 2. So since negative 3 cannot be divided by 2, we're just going to put it as negative 3 halves x. And then we go to the next one and say 6 divided by 2. That one can be divided, so we're going to put plus 6 divided by 2 is 3. We put 3. So this is our new equation that we're going to be working with. Okay? Now, let's write those order pairs. And the value of x, they're giving us that x is 2, x is 0, and x is negative 1. Now we're ready to find y for each one of those terms. Okay? Okay, let's see how it goes with the fractions that we love so much. Let me see if I can make it smaller so that I can fit more paper because we probably need more. Okay, so again, we're going to substitute the x. And so we're going to put y equals negative 3 halves times x plus 3. But now we're going to substitute. So we keep the y, the negative 3 halves, and substitute the x with 2 plus 3. We put it over 1. Now we're going to be using skills from module C and D. Okay? We multiply straight. Remember that in multiplication of fractions, we multiply straight. Multiplicamos directo. So y equals negative 3 times 2, negative 6. Since I already used the negative with the 3, this is positive then. Okay? Positive 2 times 1, positive 2. So, si el negativo solamente lo vamos a usar con uno de los dos. No podemos usarlo con los dos para multiplicar. So, se lo dejé al 3, por eso ya no lo multiplico en el 2. And then you have to bring down the 3. So, in here, y is equals to whenever you see a fraction, that's division. So, negative 6 divided by 2, negative divided by positive is negative. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And bring down the 3. And so y equals negative 3 plus 3, that's 0. Debo 3, pago 3. So, me quedo con 0 de deuda. Okay, so this was not so bad. Okay, for the next one, you have y equals negative 3 halves x plus 3. Okay, I'm just bringing down this. Replace x with 0. So y equals negative 3 over 2 times 0 plus 3. So this is something that you need to know. Any number, it doesn't matter if it's a fraction, a decimal, a whole number, a negative number, it doesn't matter. But when you multiply by 0, then the answer is 0. Okay? And then bring down the 3. So this became 0 because negative 3 halves times 0 is 0. And so y equals 0 plus 3 is 3. Okay? And the last one. So it's y equals negative 3 halves x plus 3. We bring down the y. We bring down the negative 3 halves. And in place of x is going to be negative 1 plus 3. Remember that we're going to put it over 1. Anytime that we're multiplying a fraction and a whole number or integer, we put it over 1 to multiply straight. Okay? We multiply straight. Okay, and so we get y equals negative times negative, positive. 3 times 1, 3. 2 times 1, 2. Now we bring down the 3. And we need to make it into common denominator. So we're going to put this over 1. And how can I make this one to become a 2? We can multiply by 2. Because 2 times 1 is 2, and that's what we need. Necesitamos un común denominador. But if we multiply the denominator, we need to multiply the numerator as well. And so we're going to have y equals 3/2 plus 3 times 2, 6, over 1 times 2, 2. Now that we have the common denominator, we can add them, and so y is going to be equals to 3 plus 6 is 9, and 2, since they're the same, it's going to stay like that. We are going to make it into a mixed number, so we say, so let me show you. Well, we say, how many times does the 2 go into 9? 4 times. ¿Cuántas veces cabe el 2 en el 9? Son 4 veces. Y sobra un 1 y lo ponemos sobre el 2. So how many times does the 2 go into 9? It goes 4 times. And then 4 times 2, 8. To 9 is 1. Okay, whatever is left goes there. Now, if you are the type of person that needs to do the process, let me go here. Then what you need to do is 9 divided by 2. How many times does the 2 go into 9? 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract, and you have 9 minus 8 is 1. This one goes up there, and the 2 goes here. So 4 and 1/2. So that's the value for y, 4 and 1/2. Okay, so I said before that in some, so this is it. This is what you need to do for the lesson. And if you want to stop watching, that's fine. You can go ahead and stop. But what I'm going to do now is actually explain without canceling, without doing this process. So voy a explicar cómo van a encontrar esto y van a ver que va a salir las mismas respuestas sin hacer esto, sin dejar y solito. Okay, so I'm not going to isolate. It's going to be the same. So 2y plus 3x equals 6, and we're going to say let x equals 2, 0, -1. And so what I want to do now is just place the dot. So ask your teacher if you can do it this way or not. You put the 2, 0, and -1. So you're doing the same thing. You're just giving the values. X, X, X. Remember that I'm not going to do this part where I'm going to isolate the y. I'm just going to use the equation the way it is. Voy a usar la ecuación tal como está. So 2y plus 3x equals 6. And I'm just going to substitute the 2 in here. So you can choose. Pueden escoger cualquiera de los dos métodos, okay? You can choose any of the two methods if your teacher is okay with it. So I'm going to, in the next step, I just copy this. Solo copié esto. In the next step, what I'm going to do is substitute x. It's going to be 2y plus 3 times the value of x, which is 2, equals 6. And then I'm going to start doing what I learned in Module K. So forget about this one, and it's just like solving for y, leaving y by itself. So it's going to be 2y, 3 times 2 is 6, equals 6. Then I'm going to cancel the 6. If I'm adding, the opposite is subtract. I bring down the 2y equals 6 minus 6 is 0. Finally, if I'm multiplying, the opposite is to divide. And so y equals 0 divided by 2 is 0. So that's the value here. Okay, again, I'm going to use it without, it's called without manipulating the equation. Okay, no estoy manipulando la ecuación para tenerla de esta manera. Okay, para dejar y solita. So I'm going to substitute x with 0 right here. So it's going to be 2y plus 3, but I substitute the 0 in here equals 6. 2y plus 3 times 0 is 0 equals 6. 2y plus 0 is just 2y equals 6. And then if we're multiplying, the opposite is to divide by 2. So y equals 3. Okay, so that's the value of y. Again, for the last one, I use 2y plus 3x equals 6. I substitute the value in here, so it's going to be 2y plus 3 times. Remember that whenever you have a number and a variable, it means multiplication, times negative 1 equals 6. 2y, I simplify this, 3 times negative 1 is negative 3 equals 6. If I'm subtracting, the opposite of subtracting is to add 3 to both sides. I end up on this side with 2y equals 9. If I'm multiplying, the opposite of multiplication is to divide by 2. And so how many times does the 2 go into 9? It goes 4 times, and you have 1 left out of the 2. Okay, again, 9 divided by 2 is the same as 9 divided by 2. How many times does the 2 go into 9? 4 times. 4 times 2, 8. We subtract that. 9 minus 8, 1. Okay, so that's gonna go up here and over 2. So that's basically the same. If you remember, I'm gonna show you, and with the two processes you're gonna get the same answers. Oh, let me just compare those. So 2 0 0 3 and negative 1 4 and a half, negative 1 4 and a half. Okay, you get the same answers either way. So you might want to ask the teacher if you can just use whichever method you prefer. Okay, either pause the video or go back and check it out and see which one you prefer. So have fun.